October 8, 2001. Milan's Linate Airport is smothered in a heavy, blinding fog. Visibility drops below 200 meters. In this zero-visibility environment, a deadly chain of events is about to unfold on the active tarmac. Scandinavian Airlines Flight 6086, a McDonnell Douglas MD-87, prepares for a routine morning departure to Copenhagen. The flight holds 10 passengers and crew, all unaware of the invisible threat lurking on the intersecting taxiways. Nearby, a private Cessna Citation CJ2 jet awaits clearance. On board are 2 pilots and 2 passengers headed for Paris. The dense fog obscures the control tower's view of the entire airfield, rendering visual tracking impossible. Crucially, Linate's ground radar system had been deactivated years prior. Air traffic controllers are entirely blind, forced to rely exclusively on pilot radio reports to mentally map out the exact positions of every aircraft on the ground. At 0165 ATC, the Cessna's pilots contact ground control for taxi instructions. Linate Ground Delta India Echo Victor X-Ray requests taxi. The controller clears them to navigate through the complex labyrinth of the fog-covered northern apron. The ground controller instructs, Delta Victor X-Ray, taxi north via Romeo 5, call me back at the stop bar of the main runway extension. This instruction is critical, intended to keep the Cessna safely clear of traffic. The Cessna pilot reads back the clearance, Roger via Romeo 5, and call you back before reaching main runway. However, obscured signs and thick fog cause the pilots to become fatally disoriented in the gray void. Instead of turning onto the safe Romeo 5 taxiway, the Cessna mistakenly turns onto Romeo 6. This path doesn't lead safely around the active runway, it leads directly across it. The pilots remain completely unaware of the error. As the Cessna blindly proceeds down Romeo 6, the controller, assuming they are on Romeo 5, continues coordinating other traffic. There is no surface movement radar to warn him that the small jet is heading towards disaster. At 0679 Uchi, SAS Flight 696 contacts the tower. Linate Tower, Scandinavian 696, ready for takeoff. The runway appears clear to the tower controller, who peers out the window into a solid wall of impenetrable white fog. The controller responds, Scandinavian 686, Linate clear for takeoff, 36 right. The MD-87's twin engines roar to life, pushing the massive aircraft down the runway, accelerating rapidly into the thick mist where visibility is practically zero. Simultaneously, the Cessna reaches a stop bar in Romeo 6. Believing they are on the correct path, the pilot reports, Delta Victor X-Ray is approaching the runway. The controller, envisioning Romeo 5, approves them to continue. The controller says, continue your taxi. This fatal miscommunication seals their fate. The Cessna slowly rolls directly onto the active runway 36er, exactly as SAS Flight 600-6086 reaches a terrifying speed of 150 knots. Inside the 87 cockpit, the captain suddenly sees a dark silhouette materializing in the fog just meters ahead. It is the Cessna. He pulls back hard on the yoke, desperately trying to lift the heavy jet early. The effort is futile. At 016 Uchi, the right main landing gear and engine of the massive MD-87 violently tear through the Cessna. The catastrophic impact instantly obliterates the small jet, claiming the lives of all 4 aboard. The collision rips the right engine off the SAS jet. Mayday! Mayday! Is never transmitted. The pilots are fighting for control as the heavily damaged aircraft manages to lift a few meters into the foggy air. Debris ingestion causes the left engine to immediately lose thrust. The crippled MD-87, lacking the power to climb and missing critical flight surfaces, descends back down, slanting hard onto the runway with devastating force. The landing gear collapses completely. The massive jet skids off the runway at over 130 knots, tearing across the grass. The pilots desperately apply maximum braking and reverse thrust, but the mangled aircraft refuses to stop. Sliding uncontrollably through the heavy fog, the 40-ton aircraft hurtles toward a baggage handling facility located at the edge of the airport. The pilots brace for a secondary impact that they can do absolutely nothing to avoid. The SAS MD-77 crashes violently into the concrete baggage hangar at a speed of 13.6 knots. The massive structural failure triggers an immediate, catastrophic fire, collapsing the building's roof onto the aircraft and ground workers below. In the control tower, controllers hear a muffled thump but cannot see the flames through the dense fog. They repeatedly attempt to contact SAS 6086, Scandinavian 6086, Linate, do you copy? There is only chilling static. It takes minutes for airport authorities to realize a massive crash has occurred, and even longer to find the wreckage of the Cessna. Emergency responders struggle to navigate the airfield due to the blinding, relentless fog conditions. The disaster claims 11 lives, everyone on both aircraft and 4 ground workers in the hangar. It remains the deadliest aviation accident in Italian history, a tragic consequence of aligning failures in a zero-visibility environment. Investigators discovered a terrifying truth. The runway incursion was the result of inadequate signage, outdated taxiway markings, and the complete lack of ground radar. The pilots were essentially navigating a deadly maze completely blind and unguided. The Linate disaster forced a global overhaul of airport ground tracking systems. New mandates required functional surface movement radar at major airports, ensuring controllers would never again have to rely solely on radio calls in thick fog.